TGIF, thank goodness it is Friday. Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's just another fun-filled adventure coming to the end of the week. And for some of you, you're already on your adult beverage, and it's heading towards Saturday. So let's see what do we got going on here today. Another day of no invasion. Just lots of noise, a few shots fired here or there, but overall, just kind of cruising along. I guess, a lot of us think here that a lot of this noise is the Hillary Clinton problem, and that is that they've really got her on the ropes, and she's obviously been caught, and so they have to go as far. This is like the movie Wag the Dog or Wag the Tail, or one of those things where they try to create a war out of nowhere. It's dried down. Oh, okay, there we are. So as you can see on the screen, you can see there's the Swiss. You can see it on the left. That's the J4X one, where it's down at low end of the range now, and it's been red hinkies for like 5 days. It's pressuring. Over here on the Chicago side of it, the leading indicator, you can see it's basically the same thing. We have 3 days of red dots right there. And you can also see at the same time, we've been in a daily sell for 3 full days since that spot right there on the J4X. And you can see the J4X bailed out right around here, so that's pretty cool. It went sideways over here for a while, and now we're down below it. But the big excitement of the week is obviously the weekly trend doesn't seem to be changing any. It seems to be banging against this nice tight little range here between there and there now for, I don't know, a few months. And so that is part of the action. And it doesn't seem to want to change any, even with the world ready to go to war, allegedly. I don't know. Money is not exactly running. Matter of fact, one trader texted me this morning. We were talking, or text talking, and basically I said, look, what is it? The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down about 300 points from the previous week. The S&P 500 is about 10 or 12 points down from the previous week, which is not a lot. And then the Nasdaq 100, or what we call the Tech 100 on Dukascopy, is up 21 points for the whole week. So it's for as much noise, it's not your classic the world's coming to an end scenario. Now let's do this. I haven't done this yet. I didn't open up the Dukascopy. Let's get Dukascopy going here and see if we have anybody visiting us. Just checking out or asking questions. Nope, don't see any questions. I see people visiting us, but I don't see any questions. So okay, we haven't missed any questions there. All right. Indeed. So that's where we are. That is where we are. From there, the Swiss is telling us basically is that the dollar is a little weaker. Not anything. Oh, I gotta check something. I left something in an oven. I just smelled it. Look. All right, traders, I'm all right. I am not burning down the office here. That's good. I forgot. I got in a conversation with Chicago on the phone at the same time. So I'm answering all kinds of questions, and the end result is, uh-oh, wow. All right. So you can see here, the dollar is kind of sideways down, nothing major. It really is making, that's me taking a sip of tea. There's not much more than that. It's not, like I said, it's not like the world is coming to an end and there's an invasion going on in Europe. We'll see. I do understand that I guess what is this, Belarus and the Russian Federation in general are going to do the live fire side of this training. So That's always important. I mean, you do need to do live fire. I mean, people. It's one thing to march around, spinning your rifles and doing jumping jacks and showing up at the right time, but a lot of the way of stopping injuries and being more precise and so forth is to actually do live training, with firing weapons, moving vehicles, so forth and so on. All right, so you can see the dollar is just kind of, as you can see right here, and you can see right here, dollar's just kind of quiet, really, just a little weak. Let's take a look at it now over on, not that, let's go take a look at the euro, see what the euro's doing. See if the world is coming to an end in the euro. Right there. Not particularly. The euro is not falling apart from this action either. So we're not really seeing. Look at it. It's kind of, you would think that it would look like the Turkish Lira of like 4 months ago. There was some real invasion, calamity, world's coming to chaos, the whole bit. You would think that we would see it in the price of this action, but we're not really seeing that. You can see at one point this morning, I think I sent out a chart. Let's just take a look at what we sent out like an hour and a half ago to the clients. I think at one point the euro was minus. Let me just pop that open. Let's see, where's it at? Right there. It'll pop up on the screen. Yeah. Yeah, at one point it was just piercing through. You can see it was in the minus. Let's see if we can get that mouse going right there. See it? It was like right. Is that doing that? Can you see that? Yeah. No, you can't see that. Why can't you see that? You should be able to see the arrow, I guess. Can we see the arrow down there? All right, let's use this arrow then. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. And so you can see here, we were in the minus this morning, but it seems to have flattened out now. Let's just go back to this here. You see that right there? It's kind of just unchanged up a little bit, And you can see here the line is pulling back up again, but we're still in the weekly sell, and you can see this is the super. So, it's going to survive another week of a sell. That's kind of the must mean something, I guess. You can see we went sell, buy, sell. In 3 weeks, we've been in 3 positions. So maybe this is the beginning of some more weakness. If they close in a weekly sell today, and then maybe we get a couple more weeks of this sideways down, move up a little bit, then move down a little bit further, make new lows, that type of thing. That could be the real action we're starting to see here with the euro. But we are impressed that it's not falling apart. Oh, there we go. We got something. Marcelo, good morning to you. Hello, hello. So, yeah, we're not really seeing anything particular jump out when it comes to that. Now, whereas money seems to be moving towards Switzerland, but not at any big giant rate. In other words, they're not getting nuts. Now, here was an interesting one is the British pound. You see that right there. And let's throw the British pound up on the screen here on J4X. See that strength there on the J4X. You see the line through. There's, it's been trying to climb for the last couple of days. Same situation here. We've been climbing up right there, and you can see that. And at the same time, we've been in a daily buy since here. Let's put that in there. Right there. And our, the super, this is a super, you can see right there. And, oh, you can't see that. Let's see what it is. So we go like that. You can see this is a 3-5 super right there. We highlight it. See how we highlight it green? And you can see the blue is the 5. And it's interesting. It's really trying to take a move there, just the way it did. Basically, I guess if we scrunch it up, you'll see it better. Yeah, it's making a nice move out of this. I mean, it started. I think it started almost like last week too. The 9th. Yeah. So last week, let's see, where did the 5? The 6 plot 6 was -6 coming into the week. Now the thing is plot 6 is 0.072. week before was 0.0016. It was very close to getting plus. All week long, it's been above the zero line. So they're trying to get it to go. You can see when it did it here, back here in December, early December, late December, really. Once it did that, it went on for a couple of weeks. We went into a weekly buy on the 3.5, or on the three side of the 3.5, and the 5 had led the way up. So we'll see. And you can see when the 5 starts to roll over, a lot of times the product finds a way to roll over also. So that may be the push we're seeing there. Was a bad week with the dollar, euro dollar, and the dollar yen. Too tight. I know. Maybe that was probably the war noise. You know, everybody was very concerned, and you know, it was probably more of that than anything else. That's what I'm thinking. You know, I mean, really. And that is to a great extent, you know, what we're seeing there is that the markets are in a tight range. They're not really screaming in any particular way, like, hey, watch out, the world's coming to an end. Instead, they're just hanging out in a tight range. Now, there's a lot of, I want to say there's a lot of people saying a lot of tough stuff about the Federal Reserve, you know, how if the Bank of England, the Exchequer, had not raised rates, you know, we wouldn't be able to complain about the Fed so much. But due to the fact that they see the inflation and they're raising rates and they're doing all these responsible things, it really makes it hard to take the Fed too serious. There are people out there that are convinced the Fed's not going to raise rates at all, you know, because they need to borrow money to do all the spending they want to do, you know, the political powers to be. And so as much as the opposition is fighting it, it's kind of a stalemate. And so, you know, in the end, what we're seeing is the Federal Reserve is, you know, they blocked now the opposition has blocked Mr. Biden's appointments at the Federal Reserve because the people that he's pointing are, you know, crazy communists. They're really weird. And so end result is that we're really stuck in this very sideways neutral universe. And we can point out in other aspects of the ruling party, you know, governing, you know, and their policies and so forth. And we could point it out, but in the end result is the charts do a good job pointing it out. The charts are doing a great job showing us that there's some really weird things going on. I think that's the only way to really describe it. There's some really weird things going on. That's pretty much the only way you really can describe it. So, I think, is Ukraine an issue? I think that the ruling party in the United States needs it to be an issue. In other words, they don't want to deal with the physical reality that they're dealing with. So because of that, they have to have, you know, they need the Ukraine to be on the front page of everything that's going on right now. They need that. They have to have that. And so that's really where we're at the moment. And so, but look at, you know, here, let's do this. Let's go over and take a look at the metals complex just really quick. I mean, yesterday they jacked up gold, right? You know, let's see, where do we go? Let's put gold up on there. You know, they jacked up the gold. Where's it at? Right there. You know, and it's up at the 1900 area of dollars, that is. And let's put it up on Chicago Quant right there. And right there, you can see, you know, they jacked it up yesterday. It was a nice big spike. It went from, what is that? That went from 71 and settled at 902. That's a $31 move. And you can see our math is, you know, at the beginning of the week, we were actually flirting with a weekly sell somewhere along the line. You know, now it's kind of firm there. And then when you look at silver, we're going to jump into silver too, because I thought that was interesting. They couldn't get into the buy yesterday, but it is trying to climb into the buy today, and it is trying to push back into the sell. So I guess what they're doing is they're buying gold, selling silver, and I guess there's some money trying to find a place to park in a safe spot. And that's pretty much where we're at. All right. So, yeah, I would say yeah, I think you got it there. The Ukraine is the issue, but the problem is that the issue is not really showing up in the charts. I mean, we see it showed up in gold, but I mean overall, we're not really seeing it show up in all the charts. And when we go back to the Forex, let's go back to the Forex. You look at cable. Cable's not exactly running for the border. It's not running and hiding. It's actually looking bullish. Usually, when the world is in panic mode, it usually sells the dollar down. You know, I'm sorry, buys the dollar, doesn't sell it down. That's what I meant to say. They don't sell it down, and they're selling it down right now. You can see it in the Swiss. You can see it in the, even the euro to some extent is sideways up, and you can see the cable is up, and we see that across all that area. So that's how gold is doing. I mean, it's trying. Somebody came in, bought some. They were concerned, but they pushed it up $31 yesterday, which is pretty impressive. It's still what, $300 off its all-time high. So it's not exactly, the world is not exactly in a panic mode. I mean, obviously, if you thought the world was going to hell in a handbasket, you would assume that we would see gold, trading at like 2,100 at this point, not 1,900, going after its all-time highs. All right, let's see, where are we at from there? Let's go over to the Turkish Lira, one of our big positive products that we follow now. What happened there? How did I do that? Now, why is that not? Is that it? I can't get control of it. What is up with that? There we go. I'm not sure why we've lost control of that, but curious. I must have pushed something that makes it full size. We'll have to find out what I've done wrong there. But you can see right here, looking at the Turkish Lira, and we're looking at the dollar Turkish Lira. We'll go to that first. It doesn't mean a lot to me, but it seems like their central bank is paying attention to it. Just stuck in that nice, cute little range, in a buy for a day. The weekly looks like it wants to try to get into the sell next week. Overall, it's just tight. And then let's go look at it in the form of Euro Turkish Lira right there. And it's been in a buy for like 3 days. But again, dead. In a weekly buy, but dead. And let me minimize this for a second and see what we can do with this. I must have, oh, I see, I must have to do that. There we are. And we can go like that. And then let's put Turkish Lira over here. Right there. Really quiet. The world is not coming to an end. In other words, the charts are really not telling us there's any real problems. There's just markets moving back and forth. Only press panic mode, and Russians are laughing at it all. Oh, are you kidding me? They're laughing all the way to the bank. They're making good money. Janos, the head analyst for Dukascopy here, said that they made over $60 billion with the oil this high up. Takes care of their whole defense budget for the year. And so, yeah, they're laughing their way to the bank. There's no doubt about that. Now you have companies like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs and so forth, saying stuff like, "Oh, we might see $150 oil," that type of thing. I mean, they're just singing all kinds of possible potential praise of how high gold, the black gold or what we call oil, could go. but overall, we're not really seeing much more than that. And you can see here, you know, the Turkish lira has calmed down dramatically. It is healthy. I mean, look at it. That poor thing was all the way up to there. Now it's calmed down, and the country is. A country can prosper when their currency is what they call stable. That looks awful stable to me. You can see how this box, by the middle of next week, we'll be making this box bigger again. You know, longer. But we might even be tightening it up. I don't think it can get out of that range for a while. That range, the range might literally become the low here, and there. We might see it, and the highs may not even, you know, barely get to the dotted line again. Only press panic mode, and Russians are laughing at it. Yep, exactly. Exactly. All right. From there, we jump over to the Canadian. Right there. See it on J4X, and it almost looks a lot like the Turkish lira. We've always said that. It's really odd how the Canadian has a habit of trading like the Turkish lira. We find that to be very funny and odd, unique. You know, there's all kinds of words that can express it. And you see it over there on J4X, same situation, and nice long sideways action for the last couple months. And you know, it doesn't seem to want to come out of it. It's a really tight range, and you can see we're in that weekly buy, and we're in a daily sell for 3 days, but you're getting a volatility signal here right as we speak. We'll see if it changes course again and gets back into the buy. In fact, we need to put a sell in there. Don't ask me how it did not have one in there, but we'll get that sell in there. It's been in the sell since there for 4 full days now. And that is, to a great extent, the nature of it all. It really is. This is not the sign that the world is coming to an end. This is a sign that the world has got no direction whatsoever, and they're just waiting for the next real solid point of information. Like, you know, will the Fed raise rates? You know, there's real serious talk. I said this a little while ago. There's real serious talk that they may not raise rates. What they may do is just stop buying and perking up the balance sheet. So in other words, I guess whether they're spending like 80 or 90 or 100 billion dollars a month, but not, you know, buying, not counting rolling, you know, bonds and so forth. And if they just stop doing that, there's serious talk. There's Fed officials actually saying we may not need to raise rates. Now remember, Mrs. Yellen, the head of who used to be head of the Fed, who is now the Treasury Secretary, has come out and said inflation will be like 3% by the end of the year. I myself think inflation will be like 8.5%, 9%, or if not 10% by the end of the year. But you know, she also doesn't believe there's inflation now, so she doesn't even accept it. She tries to play it down, saying those numbers are not accurate. So if the Secretary of Treasury is saying that stuff, and members of the Fed are saying that stuff, how are we going to get a rate increase? And then, and like I said, if it wasn't for the Exchequer raising rates twice now in the last 10 weeks, we would not, we'd be really scratching our heads. We'd be like, are we crazy? Is Mrs. Yellen right? And the president, the political party in charge right now is saying the same thing. They're like, oh, Mrs. Yellen's part of that party. So, they're all saying this stuff. They're all pushing this idea that inflation is really not here, as much as people are paying twice the amount in fuel and not twice the amount in food, but 30% more in food and 25% more in clothing, and 10 or 15% or 20% more in automobiles and so forth. They're denying it. In essence, they're basically saying to us, "Don't trust this; it's transitory." Let's see. We need to spread a rumor to move the market. No, I don't do that. I will announce extraterrestrials are coming. Where are they coming from? Extraterrestrials, are they coming from Jupiter or Ganymede? You know, Titan, where are they coming from? Were they on Muamua when it went around our sun, that object that moved around our sun about a year plus back, year and a half ago, and you know, accelerated out? You know, was that a probe? Was that a ship? We couldn't. They were so that object was so smart in its path and speed that it was able to come into our solar system, orbit our sun, the way we do that with um, you know, probes and so forth. You know, Earth has done the same thing. We've used the sun and we've used the gas giants in our solar system, where we send them around it, and then they go flying out and using the momentum from it. And Muamua was so successful at it that we didn't even, it went past us and dodged our cameras, and all we have is a shadow. So a computer simulation of what a meteor might look like um, is what Muamua supposedly looks like. Now, it was the size of the Eiffel Tower, I believe it was, and it was elongated like the Eiffel Tower, like a rocket. But we don't know because we did not see it. All we have is a shadow of it, not an actual picture of it. And so it was spotted by the what do you call it, the telescope in Hawaii. That's the only thing that caught a picture of it, and that was the shadow. It caught the shadow of it. So that could be a good one there, Marcelo. Muamua. They've already come. They left. They saw. They realized there's nothing here to be watched or looked at. So if extraterrestrials show up, they've already showed up. They said, we're getting out of Dodge. All right. Hey, yeah, Steve, how you doing? Gold? Sure. You want to see gold? Let's take a look at gold. We were just looking at it a little while ago. Gold is not doing anything particular. Let's see right there. You see it in our work right there. And it's been very firm. We've been in the daily buy now for, I don't know, 12 days or something like that. And we've been in the weekly buy since the end of last week. And it's been pushing up nicely. So it was definitely a winner chicken dinner there. And you know, our math was yay, hooray. And let's see, and euro. You'd like to take a look at the euro? Let's take a look at the euro too. Oh, let me just show you what gold looks like on J4X real quick, right there. Same thing, lots of hinky ashies going up. And at the same time, you can see our white line had been in a buy for a while there. It topped out on the hinky, but is trying to join in again. Not the hinky, the slow stochastic and fast stochastic backed off a little bit here. All right, let's take a look at it now over on the euro. There's dollar euro. Same situation, it's moving up in a buy for a couple days. And let's take a look at it over here. And put it up on the screen right there. You see this thing's been trapped in the range for a while here now. And I mean, it just doesn't want to let go. There is no real panic. I mean, you have to really be impressed with the central banks with the way they keep things stable, you know. They do. They keep things very stable. You can see we're trying to lift in our weekly buy area right here, but overall the 3 side of it is weak. The 5 is the blue line. It's showing some life in it. So maybe next week, maybe it gets going. But you can see it's been real choppy of late. You know, look at the, you know, it has no clear direction. I mean, look at it. We were like, what was it? We went into this, I guess it was, we went into the weekly sell here after doing that in and out right there. So back in September, we did the same thing where we went sell, buy, sell, and then it went on its run on the downside for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 weeks. And it fell from the Where did it fall from? It fell from the 117 area all the way down to the, where did it get down to? The low was right there, the 112 area, and stayed in that area for a while. When we went into a buy for about, what's that, 5 weeks, we climbed a little bit, went from the 112-ish to the 114-ish, and then now we're back into that sell, buy, sell thing again on the weekly. So there's no real clear direction. And you can see how the dailies, had some good trends, so forth and so on. Hope that helps out there. Let's see. Marcel says they are hidden in the moon. Our moon? They saw market was flat. Now, are they from Ganymede or Titan or Europa? The moons around Jupiter? Where do you think they're from? Those moons have atmospheres, and they look kind of inhabitable. All right, now, while you formulate, their possible actions and where they're from, let's take a look at. Let's see, where did we go from? We did the Canadian. Oh, and we've looked at the metals complex. So why don't we do this? Oh, notice one more thing. Oh, we got one more thing to show you too. Now that we're done the Canadian, look at oil. If there was war, why is oil going down and it's like $5 off of its highs? There's the high at the, let's see, what is that? That's Monday right there. The high was 95.82. And now the low for the week is today at 89.03. So we're over $6 lower. I thought that if the world was going to war with a major oil producer, physically, with bombs and bullets, you would think that they would be taking this stuff up, not down, right? Now, what we really could say is Muamua is kind of flat. Muamua, yeah, Muamua. It's a Hawaiian word for something like something guest or something, holiday guest or something like that. Something like that. So if we're going to talk about terrestrials, I think you really got to appreciate Muamua. That asteroid is so smart, it could accelerate towards the sun, then decrease velocity, and increase velocity, orbiting around the sun, miss all our cameras, and satellites, in other words, nothing spotted it. And the only thing is, some guys and gals out there in Hawaii looking up in the telescope saw a shadow, and then the radars picked up the, they picked up the object moving, and they were able to tell us the size of it, but they didn't see what it is. So maybe the Captain Kirk of that Muamua did a pretty good job, huh? All right. And that's our extraterrestrial conversation of the day. I'm glad to answer any more if you'd like. Let's see where we're at. So let's go to the South African Rand. Now that we've seen that gold is backing off today after that nice run yesterday. Let's see what they did with that. Still moving down. See that there. And notice, look at this, the slow fast. Look how it's just, really, really, chewing. It's trying to be sideways more than anything else, but obviously depreciating, making lower lows. Let's take a peek at it through Chicago, see what they have to say. And we click on that, and there it is. It's popping up today. And yesterday, look at that, it's unchanged. And gold went up $31 yesterday, and it's unchanged. What can you say about that? Now today, it's actually a little bit higher, not lower. We've broken that 15 area we've been looking for a possible break to. And, we weren't really totally convinced we were going to see that low there of the 86, but we thought it could at least bang around the 15. And so that's pretty much where we're at on when it comes to the what do you call that, the South African rand. It doesn't really have much force. It is going down, and we can say gold has been going up. So I mean, it is doing what it's supposed to do. That's the way the currency usually rolls, and it doesn't always work lockstep, but it does in general, just like our weeklies do things like, stay consistent. You can see here we went into the weekly sell-off in the 16s right there that week, and you can see it went down and went up and went down lower and went up, and now it went down lower again. It's trying to go up, but overall it's been in that weekly sell now 2, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, going on 10 weeks now. And it's been just slowly drifting down. Nothing major. All right, now let's take a peek at, we go to the ruble from there. The war currency. And we've seen it was in the daily sell for a couple of days, but didn't do anything particular. Today it's trying to get back into the buy, and at the same time you can see the weekly is trying to close in its weekly sell this week. Again, it's not taking out that high there. It was kind of like a couple-year high it's been up to, which is cool. But then we noticed at the same time the dollar yen is the same way, playing around with 5-year highs. And when we go over to J4X, let's take a look at ruble. Let's take a peek back. When's the last time we were in this territory, really? We'll make this a monthly. Last time we were back there was around 2020. And then there's 2019. So, I mean, we're 3-year highs, and it's backing off again. We'll see. It's not, this is a pretty stable currency when you really think about it. I mean, it plays between the 70s and the 80s. I mean, you can see it here. That's pretty stable. Russian Federation should be pretty happy to have a currency that's stable. That's what they want. I mean, can you imagine the same time period? We're not flaunting it. This is like a research lab of trading. So, I mean, look at the in the same time period of the last couple of years, we've seen the wow. Let's give it a spin. Look at that. I mean, that's the Turkish Lira. Tell me they have not had issues over that same time period where the product goes from like the 7s and 8s to the 20, and we've seen the ruble go from like the 70s to the 70s, 72 to 75 or 77, and back down to 72, 73. We're not seeing the ruble go from 72 to 142 or 210, So that's pretty cool. And that's really the blessing of having currencies that are free floating. At least we can compare those economies. We really don't know how to compare anything about the Chinese economy. The currency doesn't float, and they put out GDP, gross domestic product numbers, to a fixed value that doesn't float. So there's no global influence on that. It's all media and not really physical. And that's a tough thing there, we always complain about that. We have issues about that, that we just don't see anything but their spin and opinion and propaganda and so forth. Whereas the Russian Federation, their currency is floating every day in the open market. The Turkish Lira is floating every day in the open market. The dollar is, if you want to call it floating in the open market every day, I guess it is. There's buyers and sellers. Just because we're the dominant buyer, obviously, is it's I guess isn't that where they usually say you put your mouth where your money is or something like that? But when it comes to the Chinese yuan, we don't see anything but one steady, slow over the years 7, 7, 7, 7. I think we can put it up on there on the screen here. let's see, where is it at? So we go USD. You know what? I might have to go look up the symbol here. That's how alien it is to me. I don't even know what the symbol is for the Chinese currency because no one really trades it. You know? What can you say? If they trade it, it's only a fixed thing. There, CNH. That's it. That's it. CNH. Cancel. Okay. Dot CNH. Is that it right there? Let's see what Dukascopy says about that. Let's try it again on capitals. USD. Was it slash? It's a slash. C N. There it is. This is monthly. And I don't. It's so unreliable that I don't even. We don't really look at it too much. Let's give it a weekly instead. I think it'll fill in better. Okay, there you go. Oh, it's in the sixes now. Okay. I mean, in the sevens and the sixes. Really? You know what I mean? Sixes and sevens. I bet the Turkish Lira would be happy if it's been trapped in its sixes and sevens for a long while. What is that? How far back does that go? Back to 2012. It's been in the sixes, climbed to the sevens. Now it's back into the sixes. Really? But at the same time, it's so stable and strong that they can't bail out the investors that have bought into products there in China. So in other words, the like Evergreen and so forth, the government, if your currency is trading that strong at sixes and sevens for like, what is that, a decade, how come they can't find $20 million, not billion, not trillion, $20 million to help out Evergrande or some of these other investment trusts and so forth? They've allowed them to fall apart. The government is willing to prop up what do they call it, investors in China, but they're not willing to spend 20 or 30 or 40 million dollars to help out the investors outside of China. So really, can we really look at that currency and say, oh, yeah, it's really in the sixes and sevens? Wouldn't the Turkish lira, look at the Turkish lira over that same time period that floats against the dollar. Now there's a currency that I trust. And look at the way it's gone over that same time period since the 12. It was trading in the 3, it was trading in the 2s, and it ran to 18. Come on, traders. What's wrong with that picture? And the Turkish central bank used all its reserves to prop up its currency, and they still couldn't hold back the tide because it trades internationally, but the Chinese yuan doesn't. And then think about it this way: they used up all their sovereign funds, right? 300 billion. The China has a sovereign funds of over $1 trillion parked in U.S. treasuries. Couldn't they have taken out $1 billion, just $1 billion out of that trillion, and helped out its number 1 and 2 property developers just for 20 million bucks? They didn't even have to take out a billion. They could have taken out just $1 million, 100 million. And that would have done everything. They wouldn't have defaulted. So why isn't China considered also, the South American countries have to always do that reinvesting again and refinancing. The Chinese let these things go bankrupt and no one talks about it. So anyway, that's me. That's my question mark my doubt about anything about the China marketplace. GDP, currency, I don't even pay attention to it. But every so often we do get a chance to go on a rampage about it. There it is. That's a real currency, the Turkish Lira. All right, let's look over to the chat line again. I see someone has said something there. I see my pal, 47. Let's see, the hidden in the moon. Okay, Marcel says, I saw the market flat. 47 says, hey, Doc, can you look at the Nikkei? Sure, let's look at the Nikkei. Let's look at the Nikkei. And I see that Marcella said something else. I'll go back to that as soon as I put the Nikkei up on the screen. What is that? That is, oh, that's grains. So let's do that. There we are. And let's look at the Nikkei. Yeah, they're playing with that 5-year high. That has my eye too. And I have that conversation all the time about the Nikkei being at 39,000, and we're at 27,000. So the all-time high is 39,000. The Nikkei is trading at 27,000. We haven't seen the 39,000 since something like 1993. So over 3 decades, almost going on 4 decades now. The Chinese just bought Argentina. Doesn't surprise me any. Buying Latin America. You know, that kind of reminds me of the Japanese back in the 90s. You know, how they were buying up property everywhere, and then their economy collapsed, you know. But they have a real currency. So, I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know what to say than what I have said. And that is, until they have a real currency, you know, China has a real currency, we don't really have a strong, they're more like a colony of ours. You know, I mean, we put a couple of $100 billion a year into their economy, America does. You know, if we're not putting that couple $100 billion a year into that economy, you know, what happens to China? And, you know, for all the saber rattling and all the complaining that China does about America, why do they leave $1 trillion sitting in our bank accounts? Why aren't they willing to move them? Remember the time they got caught? You know, China got caught hiding buying American bonds when they were telling us that they weren't going to buy American bonds anymore. And then all of a sudden, what was it? What's the country next to France? Belgium, that's it. All of a sudden, Belgium started buying, someone in Belgium started to buy American bonds. And they got up to like $350 billion worth, and the GDP of Belgium is something like $275 billion. And they were like, you know, who's doing all this buying in Belgium? Then they found out, we all knew it was China. I was here on the webinar saying, I'm sure it's China. I'm sure it's China. In the end, they got caught. So they went around telling everybody they weren't going to buy any more American bonds. And instead, they went and bought American bonds in Belgium, hiding their investment. So if they're so confident about their economy, why do they have to hide all this stuff all the time? So if they're buying Argentina, it must be at dirt penny prices to begin with. And they're probably using dollars anyway, right? Doesn't Argentina kind of fix their currency to the dollar? Doesn't most of the countries down in South America at this point, because of all the, they should follow Turkey. All the countries in South America should follow Turkey and start giving out free puts to their currency, to investors, anybody who buys. Argentina was the first Latin American country to get on board with the Silk Road. Yeah, I hear you. I don't know if I have even an opinion about that. All I know is that without a floating currency, it's awful hard to really, you know, have a good understanding of asset values. You really need the world to participate, you know, buy and sell. You know, the markets. The markets are the ones that are real, and the governments are the ones that are, you know, when they try to fix a price, you just end up like South America, right? I mean, isn't all of South America pretty much, they try to fix everything. And so since they fix it, you don't see real price action. And then every couple of years they have to, what was it, refinance everything because they go bankrupt again? They keep on going bankrupt and refinancing things. Right? Is that how that works? Let's see. Argentina has two exchange rates, one official fixed and one informal, which is floating. And so is the floating one a big discrepancy? Last I saw it was the floating one is totally different than the fixed, right? And then the fixed is only traded like 10 or 15%, and the floating is like 85%. And the government gets angry at you if you use the floating. You know, you don't use the fixed. And it's something like that. I like the idea when you have a currency that floats. I mean, I know the central banks are interfering in these things. We know that they keep them in channels and so forth, but it really does make it, you know, when it's floating, like look at the ruble. You know, I think the ruble is a perfect example. You know, when it was a communist nation, a full communist nation like the Chinese one, the ruble was 4 and 5 and 6 rubles to the dollar. But the moment it became move into the open market and it became you know a non full-fledged communist market, now the ruble is in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you know, and sometimes touches the 80s. So you know, it just helps. You know, it may not be perfect. We know it's not perfect, but a floating currency gives us a better flavor of the country's economy itself. You know, really does. Okay, let's see. Oh, 47. Well, we're here. Let's go to one of our favorites. I even wrote an article about it. Where is that at? I've done 2 articles on it, and that is the GBP Jpy. Where is it at? Right. It's around here somewhere. GBP Jpy. Here it is, right there. And you see here, we've been, you know, we went into the weekly sell last week. It tries to go down, but doesn't do too good a job at it. It's been higher than it is lower. It's trying to go back into the sell today. Went into the buy there 2 days ago here, and then closed low down. But we're in a weekly sell, so you wouldn't take the buy anyway. But it's really tightening up in here, isn't it? And that's probably because it's at a 5-year high also, right? I mean, that has everybody freaked out, I imagine. I could see the other newsletter writers and so forth saying stuff. They didn't publish it yet. It's supposed to be on Invesco, but they haven't published it. We just signed up with them this week to be able to write articles. So we're still going through the process. But we sent them 2 articles. They haven't published them. You've heard everything I wrote about, basically. You know, I yak. I'm basically saying stuff that I say here in the article. So you, excuse me, you know where I stand and where our math stands on the GBP Jpy. You can see it right there. Where's that mouse at? I choked on my spit. You can see here, I mean, we're flirting with the weekly sell. This is a 5-year highs right here. We went into a buy, and then it went into a sell, and I thought, okay, you know, right there. I thought, okay, we're going to back off, and what did it do? It goes into the sell right there. Let's put that in there. Look how trafficy this is. Goes into this. Oh, well, let's put it in the right place too. Move that. You see it here. It goes into the sell there. No, it doesn't do it. It gives a volatility signal that day. It goes into sell right there. And what does it do? It gives us a volatility signal and goes up. The math goes down still. The next day it goes into a buy. 2 days it goes into a buy here. And stays in a buy for a day. And now it's flirting with the sell right there again. Oops. What's up with that? There we go. So I mean, we're not. You know, this is I kind of and I basically say in what I wrote up about it, I'm saying, hey, it's got to be the inflation that's having things making things a little confusing. I mean, that's the way it looks to me. I mean, look at a nice consistency. I mean, here it is, goes into the buy here, going after the 5-year highs with the weekly buy, nice and smooth. You get a little sell action, buy and sell and so forth. This buy, it's just a 1-day wonder or 2 days, and then finally breaks down, goes into a sell. You don't get trapped in any of that because again, it's in a weekly buy, so you're not trading the short, but not to be long, and that's the best thing of all. Not to be long during this period, and math is telling you not to be. So then, even with the weekly buy, right? I mean, they got to be combined together unless you're using derivatives, options and binaries. Then it goes back into a buy again while we're in the weekly buy here, and gives you another winner chicken dinner. And then now we're in this tangled area here, and you can't take the short. But now we go into a weekly sell last Friday, and you're trying to take the short on that, and you get beat up, give up a few shekels there, or a few pips. And then now we're back into the sell, and if it closes here on today, it's like, oh, maybe it'll come back down and take out these lows in here. I think we might even call this webinar. I mean, we could call it so many things like Chinese yuan, GBP Jpy. We can do a bunch of those. Because I mean, that's pretty much what we talked about here today. Oh, we talked about Muamua. I don't think talking about extraterrestrials will work too well on that. You never know, though. You never know. So, all right. Where else should we go from here? I guess we're done, aren't we, traders? I did mention that most of the stock indices are pretty much kind of sideways down to sideways up. So, I mean, we're not really seeing. Oh, since this webinar started, the Dow Jones was up 130 points, and now it's down 35. So we are seeing some pressure there. So, all right, we're out of here. Everybody have a safe and smart weekend. We will catch you all on Monday, which is TGIM. Thank goodness it will be Monday. Happy trails to you until we meet again Monday. Happy trails to you, to all my trading friends. Later, traders. Thank you, Marcelo.